Guys, we're starting off with a world on the absolute brink of total annihilation thanks to these terrifying monsters. But then, out of nowhere, this mysterious wizard shows up to throw hands with the chaos. Our guy isn't just throwing fireballs, he's using some seriously heavy-duty black magic that literally drains his own life force to get the job done. Just look at this, he's summoning an entire army of the undead, like he's straight out of a dark fantasy nightmare. It's honestly insane, but he actually pulls it off and manages to save humanity from being wiped off the map. Everyone's cheering for him like he's the ultimate legend, but you just know things are about to go south. And yeah, the hero's ending is brutal. The poor dude gets his head chopped off, talk about a rough way to go. Right before he kicks the bucket, he's got this creepy, sinister grin on his face that'll give you chills. He drops a final curse, basically promising that his death is going to flip the entire world upside down. Fast forward 100 years and we're checking out Floss Village, where everything seems peaceful, but for how long? Our boy Louis is just trying to catch some Z's when he gets rudely interrupted in his own house. Turns out it's Violet, and she's acting all mysterious while claiming she's just out here watering the flowers. Louis is clearly confused as hell, lying on the ground while she keeps the water flowing like she's got nothing better to do. He finally snaps and asks why she's drenching his face, and honestly, who wouldn't be annoyed at that point? We cut to a local tavern where Louis is grabbing a bite, and you can tell the locals are already whispering about him. The tavern crowd is totally distracted, watching him with that look like they've never seen a guy eat dinner before. Then the tavern keeper, this mustachioed legend, slides a fresh plate of food over to our guy with a friendly grin. Louis digs in and he's actually enjoying the meal, totally oblivious to the weird vibes in the room. The tavern keeper leans in close to drop some heavy news about a nasty plague wrecking the neighboring village. He's super worried because he hasn't heard from his buddy, and you can tell he's starting to fear the worst. The tavern keeper is losing his mind, asking if this is the legendary hero's curse, but our guy Louis is just like, nah man, chill out. Louis is trying to keep it cool, while the old guy keeps pressing him about the weird stuff going down in the village. Then the tavern keeper starts acting like a total goofball, claiming there's a plague of love in the room all because Louis is sitting there. Louis is absolutely done with this nonsense and tells the guy to pipe down or he's walking out the door. Just as he's trying to eat in peace, this total cutie with pointed ears, Violet, shows up out of nowhere to bug him. She's acting all friendly, trying to figure out if he's rolling solo or if he's got a whole squad with him. She drops the bomb that her friend over at the table actually thinks he's a total catch. And look at this, the friend is blushing like crazy, clearly head over heels for our boy. Violet keeps pushing her luck, inviting him over for a drink like she's trying to play matchmaker. But Louis, being the absolute legend he is, just hits her with the what's in it for me energy and she is shook. Louis is honestly just trying to enjoy his meal, but he's already fed up with Violet trying to drag him into some social nonsense. He's literally glowing with that passive charm, looking like a total main character while he complains about how exhausting it is to be this good-looking. Violet is completely losing her mind, totally caught in his spell and feeling weirdly guilty for just existing near him. She's spiraling hard, feeling like she needs to apologize for breathing the same air as our boy. She literally bolts out of the tavern like she's seen a ghost, leaving everyone else in the room looking just as confused and desperate. Louis is just sitting there, totally over it, realizing that his looks are basically a curse that makes everyone act like total weirdos. We get a glimpse into his head, and he's clearly questioning if he's just too much for this world to handle. Then we get this intense flashback where some random girl is acting absolutely unhinged, accusing him of toying with her heart. She's totally obsessed, screaming about him wanting kids, while our boy is just panicking and trying to explain it was just a simple wink. Back in the present, Louis is just leaning into the chaos, fully embracing the fact that being this handsome makes him the center of everyone's universe. Louis is literally just trying to pick out some clothes, but the local fan club is already swarming him like he's some kind of K-pop idol. It's getting ridiculous, with these random dudes buying the exact same gear just to copy his style. They're actually begging him for a handshake like it's a religious experience, and our boy is just completely over it. One guy is even grabbing at his pants, and Louis has to tell him to back off before things get even weirder. He's realizing that being this good-looking is basically a full-time job he never signed up for. Then this guild member rolls up, acting like she's done some deep-dive research on his entire life. She's dropping facts about his royal invitation and calling him out for being too lazy to take the throne. Louis just gives her that cold, unbothered stare, which honestly just makes her even more obsessed with him. She tries to flex her authority by offering him a drink, but Louis doesn't even know who these people are. He shuts them down cold, telling them to beat it because he's got zero interest in their little fan club meeting. This stalker chick is absolutely spiraling because our boy Louis doesn't even remember her face. She's getting super aggressive, ready to throw hands just because she feels ignored. She's totally losing it, screaming about how pissed off she is and looking for someone to take it out on. Then this absolute unit of a strong man jumps in, ready to defend his precious Louis Opa from anyone acting out. The big guy is radiating pure menace, telling everyone to back off and leave his idol alone. The stalker is doubling down, basically saying if she can't have him, nobody else is allowed to either. She's completely unhinged, standing there with her little groupies, ready to gatekeep Louis from the rest of the world. Louis is just standing there, completely unfazed and honestly just confused why anyone would care about a bench press. Night falls and these creeps are literally stalking him while he's trying to get some sleep. They're huddled outside his window, whispering about how they're way better than him, which is just peak levels of weird. These two absolute degenerates are plotting to take our boy Louis out of the picture for good. The stalker chick is trying to rope these other girls into her twisted plan, acting like it's all totally normal. The other girls are clearly having second thoughts, looking at her like she's lost her marbles. She snaps at them to keep their traps shut, basically saying if she can't have him, nobody will. Her eyes go full-on red and she declares she's going to end him. This girl is straight up unhinged. She's acting like a total psychopath, giggling while she tells her lackeys to finish the job. But wait, she turns around and finds her own muscle, the strong man and his buddy, already lying in a pool of blood. She hears a loud thud and spins around, completely caught off guard by the sudden silence. She looks down and sees her two companions face down on the floor, totally out cold. She pulls out her blade, realizing she's way out of her depth and that something seriously dangerous is lurking in the shadows. The stalker chick is absolutely frozen in terror as a shadowy figure looms right behind her with a blade to her throat. She's completely losing it, realizing how insanely fast this person moved without making a single sound. She's staring down the steel, desperately trying to process how someone this skilled is hanging out in a random village. Then her eyes widen in pure shock as she catches a glimpse of that glowing red gaze. She knows exactly who this is. It's Violet and she's looking like a total nightmare, holding the stalker hostage like it's nothing. The stalker is sobbing, begging to know why she's being targeted, but Violet isn't exactly in a chatty mood. Violet doesn't hesitate for a second, snatching her up and making it clear that messing with her business was a massive mistake. Violet's giving off major Yandir energy, dropping some cryptic line about how flowers are only meant to be looked at, not touched. She's absolutely terrifying here, basically telling the girl she crossed the line by trying to pluck her favorite flower, Louis. It's game over for the stalker, as Violet prepares to end her, leaving the poor girl begging for her life in her final moments. Our boy Louis is dead to the world, snoring away and drooling like he's having the best dream of his life. We get a wide shot of the village, and honestly it looks like the kind of place where nothing ever happens, total snooze fest. Violet pops up out of nowhere to wake him up, acting like she's just checking in on her favorite lazy guy. Louis is barely conscious, just giving her a look that says he's definitely not a morning person. She starts pestering him about the flowers, acting like she's been busy keeping them alive all night. She's literally using her magic to water the plants with her own hand, which is a massive flex if you ask me. She tries to get him to actually do something with his life, asking when he's gonna head back to the village. Louis hits her with the most relatable answer ever, basically saying he's only moving when his bank account hits zero. She tries to push him to get a job as a hobby, but our guy is way too committed to his nap-heavy lifestyle. He's dead set on doing absolutely nothing for the next 20 years, but then we get a time skip of 1 month and things are about to get real. Things take a dark turn as a mysterious figure arrives at the village only to find a scene of total carnage. Louis is hit with the realization that the plague the tavern keeper warned him about is actually the real deal. Our boy is looking rough, clearly suffering from the sickness and struggling just to catch his breath. Violet is absolutely devastated, watching him fade away and feeling like there's nothing she can do to stop it. Louis is still clinging to his vanity, lamenting that he's way too good-looking to be taken out by some random illness. He's lying there, totally defeated, wondering why he has to go out like this when he had so much life left to live. He's pouring his heart out, admitting he's terrified of dying, and honestly, it's a total gut punch to watch. Violet is losing her composure, screaming for him to wake up as the situation hits a breaking point. Just when it looks like it's lights out, a mysterious system notification pops up, unlocking a wild ability called Resisting Death. Louis wakes up in the middle of the night under the stars, clutching his head and wondering if he's still dreaming or if he just cheated the Reaper. Our boy is standing there under the stars, totally convinced that his near-death experience was just some weird, twisted nightmare. He's still trying to keep his cool, grabbing his sword and checking out his reflection like he's about to hit the town. But then he catches a glimpse of his own hand, and let's just say, it's not exactly the skincare routine he was hoping for. He's staring at his reflection in the blade, and the realization is hitting him like a truck. That's not a face, that's a skull. The shock is real, and he's just standing there, completely spiraling as he tries to figure out why he's looking like a Halloween decoration. He's literally clutching his head in total panic, screaming internally because he's officially become a walking, talking skeleton. We shift gears to a group of knights marching into a dungeon, and you can tell by the vibe that they're walking into a meat grinder. This raid is no joke, with nearly 500 A-rank knights charging in like they're ready to take on the world. But it's a total bloodbath, with the entire force getting absolutely wiped out in a display of pure, unadulterated power. One of the survivors is looking absolutely traumatized, realizing that even the elite S-rank fighters don't stand a chance against the boss of this place. Just when you think things can't get any crazier, the legendary black dragon Atrox shows up looking like a total nightmare straight out of Godzilla. One of the knights is absolutely losing his mind, trying to wrap his head around the fact that this beast is actually here. But then the mood does a complete 180, and the dragon is literally purring like a giant kitten for our boy Louis. Louis is just casually petting the massive beast, acting like it's the most normal thing in the world to have a dragon fanboying over him. The dragon is so hyped to be near him that it's literally breathing heavy, looking like it's about to pass out from pure excitement. The dragon even starts stretching out, and the onlookers are just standing there, completely baffled by this bizarre display. The party leader is looking on, probably thinking that all the gold they spent to get here was actually worth it for this show. He's totally stunned, realizing that even a legendary dragon isn't immune to the sheer gravitational pull of Louis' charm. Louis is even using a little toy to play with the dragon, and the party leader is having a full-blown existential crisis watching this. He's basically admitting that no amount of high-level magic could ever pull off a stunt like this, and honestly, he's not wrong. The party leader is standing there, completely mind-blown, realizing that Louis has some kind of power that makes magic look like a total joke. We get a close-up on our boy Louis, and honestly, that passive charm is working overtime. He's looking like a total bombshell. The knight is just staring at him, trying to process why this dude is so effortlessly attractive while he's stuck in full plate armor. Louis is just vibing with the dragon, basically saying that being this good-looking is the ultimate cheat code for life. He's straight up bragging that he's pulling in S-rank paychecks just by showing up and looking pretty. He's laughing it off, totally owning the fact that his face is his entire business model, and he's loving every second of it. But then the vibe shifts instantly, and we see his skeletal form lying on the ground, looking like he's just been discarded. A bunch of random goblins stumble upon him, acting like they own the place and looking for a fight with a pile of bones. One of these green-skinned punks is talking trash, telling our boy he looks absolutely hideous and unappealing. The goblin spits on him, and Louis is just sitting there in silence, probably thinking about how far he's fallen from his glory days. Our boy is straight up spiraling, staring at his own skull and praying this is just some messed up fever dream. But then he realizes he's got company, and these goblins are acting like they've never seen a skeleton in the wild before. Louis is panicking, wondering why his legs are moving on their own as he tries to book it away from these green pests. He's trying to hype himself up, reminding everyone and mostly himself that he's the GOAT even if he's currently a pile of calcium. He's got that main character energy, refusing to believe that a little bit of damage is gonna take him out for good. He pulls out a blade, thinking he can handle these low-level mobs like it's nothing, but he's clearly shaking. He tries to stand his ground, but he's basically a total noob at combat and gets absolutely rocked by the first goblin that swings. It's a total disaster, and he's already regretting his life choices as his skull starts showing some serious cracks. He's getting jumped by the whole squad, and honestly, it's painful to watch our guy get bullied like this. He's down on the ground, realizing he's never actually thrown a punch in his life, and these goblins are definitely not showing any mercy. Man, it's honestly tragic watching our boy Louis getting absolutely clobbered by some random bottom-tier goblin. But then, out of nowhere, we get this sudden shift as Louis' eyes start glowing with that signature, intense energy. The goblins are starting to sweat bullets, realizing that the pile of bones they were bullying is suddenly looking a lot more dangerous. Louis just flashes this chilling, confident grin, like he's about to turn the tables on these green-skinned punks. He's basically thinking, is this really how I go out, getting bullied by a bunch of low-level mobs? He's pleading for them to stop the beatdown, clearly hating the fact that he's currently just a fragile skeleton. Suddenly, a flash of blue light cuts through the darkness, and one of the goblins gets absolutely wrecked. A knight in full armor swoops in like a total boss, taking down the goblin with a clean strike. Louis is just sitting there in his hooded cloak, looking like a confused skeleton wondering what the heck just happened. The rescue squad arrives, but they're looking at the scene and thinking they're way too late to save the poor guy. Louis is lying there in the dirt, feeling like absolute trash while the locals just stare down at his skeletal remains. He pops back up, totally relieved that he's still technically alive, and thanking the squad for not leaving him to rot. He's feeling generous, promising to hook them up with a meal as a thank you for the assist. But then he gets hit with a blast of energy that sends him flying, and he's left wondering what the hell just happened. The locals are freaking out, calling him a demon and running off to tell the rest of the village about the talking skeleton. Louis is just left in the grass, spiraling about how his life turned into this weird undead nightmare. He decides he's done with the drama and starts trekking back home, still trying to process his new reality. He rolls up to the village and realizes something is seriously wrong. The place looks like a total ghost town. He's wandering through the ruins, noticing all the flowers are dead and wondering if the plague finally finished the job. He stumbles into a house that smells like booze, totally confused about why the place is trashed and if he's got a squatter. Louis is trying to reason with the situation, but he's got a shadowy, glowing-eyed figure looming right behind him. Suddenly, Violet goes full berserk and slashes right at him, forcing our guy to dodge for his literal life. Louis is totally baffled, staring at her and wondering why his favorite cutie is acting like a total psycho. She's completely unhinged, swinging her blade with zero hesitation and showing absolutely no mercy to the skeleton in front of her. Louis is scrambling to get away, letting out a panicked noise as he narrowly avoids getting turned into a pile of dust. She's relentless, pinning his arm down and looking like she's ready to finish him off right then and there. Our boy is in full-on retreat mode, backing up while realizing that Violet has absolutely no clue who he is. He's staring at her, completely shook by how fierce and dangerous she's become while he was out of the loop. He tries to call out to her, hoping to snap her out of it, but she's just stalking toward him like a predator. She corners him, blade at the ready, and demands to know exactly who this mysterious skeleton really is. Violet is absolutely losing it, calling our boy a monster while she's got him pinned down. Louis is just trying to get through to her, shouting that it's really him under all these bones. Violet's eyes go wide with pure shock, like she's finally starting to realize who she's actually attacking. Louis is trying to explain his tragic backstory, telling her he has no clue why he ended up as a walking skeleton. He's completely baffled by the whole situation, wondering how he went from a normal guy to this undead mess. Suddenly, the tension spikes as Violet snaps back into her psycho mode, clearly not buying his story for a second. She's back on the offensive, looking like a total menace as she prepares to strike him down. She's screaming at him for having the audacity to impersonate the hero, and honestly, she looks ready to commit a crime. Louis is just standing there in total despair, watching her go full-on villain mode while he's just trying to survive. He's desperately clutching his face, begging her to listen to reason before she does something she'll definitely regret. Violet is absolutely losing her mind, pinning our guy down with a blade like she's ready to end him for good. She's still fixated on that weird flower nickname, completely caught in her own delusional headspace. We get a quick flashback to better times, where she's watering the plants and acting like everything is totally normal. Louis is just standing there, genuinely confused why she's obsessed with calling him a flower. Violet gives him that creepy, side-eyed grin, clearly hiding something behind that smile. She drops the bomb that it's because he's beautiful, and honestly, the way she says it is just straight-up unsettling. Louis tries to play it cool, acting like being called a flower isn't the weirdest thing he's ever heard. Back in the present, our skeletal boy is just sitting there, taking the heat while she looms over him. He tries to reach out to her, hoping she'll recognize him through the bony exterior. The realization finally hits her, and she's absolutely sobbing, completely overwhelmed by the fact that it's actually him. After all that chaos, Violet finally realizes it's our boy Louis and pulls him into a desperate, tearful hug. She starts pouring her heart out, explaining that the world went completely sideways during the year he was MIA. Louis is just sitting there, still trying to wrap his bony head around the fact that he's been dead for an entire year. They sit back to back on the floor, and Louis asks why she's being so distant while they catch up. Violet is clearly struggling to hold it together, crying as she tells him about the demons that started popping up everywhere. Louis gets a massive jump scare when he realizes the scale of the threat, spinning around to face her. She explains that a full-blown war broke out because of those demons, and some kingdoms are already getting absolutely wrecked. She tells him she couldn't bring herself to leave their home because it was the only place left holding onto their memories. They sit there in the dim light, finally connecting the dots on why those goblins were lurking around the village. Louis looks at her with his empty eye sockets, desperately wondering if there's any way he can ditch this skeleton look and go back to being a normal dude. Violet is trying to keep our boy Louis' spirits up, telling him not to stress about his current skeletal situation. She's got a plan to get him back to his original, handsome self, and she's looking way too excited about it. The two of them head out to a cliffside, looking like a couple of outcasts plotting their next big move against the world. Louis is fully committed to the grind, telling her he'll do whatever it takes to get his old look back, even if it puts them in the line of fire. He's genuinely worried about her safety, asking if she's really down to follow a walking pile of bones into danger. Violet just brushes it off with a smile, reminding him that taking care of her favorite flower is her #1 job. Louis gives her a nod, finally accepting that they're in this together for the long haul. He's ready to hit the road, asking if they should start the quest to reclaim his legendary good looks right now. To make that happen, they're gonna need some serious loot, starting with a potion of regeneration to fix him up. And to top it off, they need a red spider antenna, which is basically the final ingredient for their weird little science project. First up on the shopping list is this blue lizard tail, which looks like it came straight out of a weird science lab. Next, we've got some green deer blood, and honestly this stuff is looking pretty radioactive if you ask me. Our boy Louis is holding a blade, realizing he's finally tracked down the last ingredient he needs for his little project. Suddenly, the massive Leviathan, ruler of the lake, rises up like a total boss, looking like a beast straight out of a high-budget monster flick. Louis doesn't even flinch, standing his ground against the giant sea dragon like he's ready to throw down. He starts trash-talking the beast, calling it an ugly fish bastard, and man, the dragon looks absolutely offended. The Leviathan is sweating bullets, totally confused and terrified by this weird skeletal guy who clearly has no fear. The dragon is watching Louis dance around like a total goofball, wondering if this bone bag is actually hiding some secret power. Louis just laughs in its face, dropping a name like he's about to summon something even crazier than a giant dragon. The Leviathan is staring him down, completely shook and realizing that this encounter is going to be way more trouble than it's worth. Our boy Louis is literally lunging at the Leviathan, acting like he's about to take down a boss in a Souls-like game. He's screaming for Violet, probably hoping she's got his back while he's out here playing hero with a tiny dagger. Violet swoops in like a total pro, maneuvering around the massive dragon while Louis is still trying to find his footing. She's looking absolutely fierce, blade ready, showing everyone why you don't mess with her or her favorite skeleton. The Leviathan is looking like it's having a total oh crap moment, realizing it's getting tag-teamed by these two. The dragon is straight up panicking, eyes wide, realizing it's been played for a fool by our guy. They've finally made it to this gorgeous cherry blossom spot, which looks like the perfect backdrop for a fantasy anime ending. Here's the goods, a regeneration potion, the kind of legendary loot that's supposed to fix up any mess. Louis is geeking out over how romantic the setting is, while Violet explains the specific rules for using this magic juice. Now they're about to see if this potion actually works, and honestly the tension is higher than a final boss fight. Things get a little intense as Louis accidentally nicks his hand with the blade, drawing a bit of blood. Violet immediately steps in, snatching the potion away because she's not about to let our boy mess this up. She decides to test the potion on herself first, just to make sure it's actually safe for him to use. A magical, glowing aura erupts around her, looking like something straight out of a high fantasy anime transformation sequence. Louis is just standing there, completely stunned and letting out a confused shout as the magic starts working its wonders. Violet hands the potion back over to him, giving him the green light to finally take his shot at getting his old look back. Louis clutches the bottle, staring at it like it's the most precious thing in the world, ready to end his skeletal nightmare. He looks at Violet with genuine gratitude, acknowledging that he wouldn't have made it this far without her help. The magic kicks in, and suddenly his skeletal face starts shifting, revealing a glimpse of his original handsome human visage. Violet is absolutely floored, her eyes wide as she witnesses the transformation that brings her favorite guy back to life. The seal on the potion bottle pops off with a satisfying little sound, and the magic is finally ready to go. Louis sits there, skull in hand, staring at the glowing liquid like it's the holy grail of skincare. We get a flashback to a goblin looking down at his remains, basically saying that neither beauty nor ugliness matters in this messed up world. The goblin continues its trash talk, claiming that even a life as pathetic as his is just going to end in the dirt. Louis is back in the present, crying his eyes out because he's terrified that if he goes back to his old self, he'll just lose it all again. He's having a total breakdown, screaming that he's gonna live like a proper delinquent from now on, and then he just smashes his own fist into the ground. The impact is brutal, and his skeletal hand is literally leaking that glowing green essence all over the place. Violet rushes over, totally panicked and screaming his name. Seeing him in this state is clearly breaking her heart. Louis is just sitting there, completely confused and leaking magic fluid, wondering what the heck is even happening to him. Violet freezes up, her eyes wide with pure shock as she realizes the situation is way more intense than she ever imagined. Violet is trying to talk our boy down, but Louis is clearly at his breaking point and just slamming his fist into the ground. The camera zooms in on his cracked skull, and you can practically feel the frustration radiating off him. He's looking out at the cherry blossoms, totally losing it because he still hasn't turned back into his handsome self. We see the magic leaking out of his hand like a broken pipe, and man, it's just depressing to see him stuck like this. He's staring into the void, wondering if he's cursed to stay a walking bag of bones for the rest of eternity. He's spiraling hard, asking Violet if there's any hope left for him to return to his old life. He's hit rock bottom, basically saying that if he can't be human again, there's no point in even existing. He's just sitting there, head in his hands, wishing he could just end it all and stop the suffering. Violet is still trying to be the voice of reason, but Louis is just too deep in his own head to listen. She's standing there with her blades drawn, looking absolutely helpless as she watches her favorite guy fall apart. Violet is totally losing her mind, screaming at our boy Louis to get out of there while she tries to hold the line. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts to pure dread as we see a silhouette with massive horns and dark, swirling energy. We get a terrifying close-up of those glowing red eyes and razor-sharp fangs. This guy is definitely not here to play nice. Louis is just standing there, looking completely unfazed while Violet is sweating bullets, realizing exactly what they're up against. The Demon King finally reveals himself in all his glory, and the sheer pressure coming off him is enough to make anyone want to bail. Violet is still trying to be the hero, begging Louis to run while she steps up to face the big bad. But our boy Louis just walks right past her, totally calm, and decides to start a casual conversation with the literal king of demons. He's acting like he's just meeting a random stranger at a bar, asking the guy if he's actually as strong as the rumors say. Louis drops the ultimate "I'm done with this" line, looking the Demon King straight in the eyes and asking him to end his misery. The Demon King is actually impressed, smirking at our skeletal boy and calling him an interesting little freak for wanting to die when he's already dead. The Demon King is looking absolutely unhinged, sticking her tongue out like she's ready to turn our boy into a pile of dust. Louis is just standing there, totally resigned to his fate, staring at that massive claw like it's the end of the road. He's completely spiraling, convinced that if he can't get his old life back, he's better off just checking out permanently. Violet is absolutely losing it, jumping in to protect him because she's not about to let her favorite guy get deleted. Louis is just standing there in total shock, watching the chaos unfold as his world starts to crumble around him. He's getting shoved aside by the sheer force of the encounter, his skeletal frame barely holding together under the pressure. Violet is pouring her heart out, begging him to keep going and reminding him that he's still got people who actually care. She's looking at him with so much emotion, trying to be the light in his dark, undead existence. The tension is off the charts as Violet and the Demon King lock eyes, with both of them ready to throw down. It's a total standoff, with Violet stepping up to face the monster head-on to keep our boy Louis safe from the carnage. Violet is going full beast mode, lunging at the Demon King with everything she's got while glowing with that intense energy. But the Demon King is just too quick, landing a nasty hit that leaves a fresh, bloody gash on his own neck. A quick zoom-in shows the blood dripping down, and man, this guy is barely even fazed by the injury. The Demon King just stands there, looking down at the carnage with those glowing red eyes like he's bored out of his mind. He starts laughing like a total maniac, letting out a massive burst of dark magic that shakes the whole area. He decides it's time to stop messing around, activating his Lucifer's eyes to really put the hurt on our girl. He launches himself into the air, closing the distance in a heartbeat and looking like a nightmare straight out of a horror flick. Violet is scrambling to keep up, realizing this guy is way faster than she ever anticipated and trying to get her guard up. She tries to block his strike, but the sheer force of the impact is enough to send shockwaves through the entire battlefield. The Demon King just smirks, letting her know that his eyes see right through her defense and that trying to block is a total waste of time. The Demon King is looking absolutely unhinged, licking her lips like she's found a new toy to play with. Violet is caught totally off guard, barely managing to block a strike she never saw coming. She's realizing that just dodging isn't gonna cut it against a monster with eyes like that. The Demon King is actually impressed, smirking and telling our girl she's got some serious guts for a human. Violet is looking rough, battered, and bruised, but she's still standing tall and refusing to back down. The Demon King is genuinely curious, asking why she'd throw her life away for a walking pile of bones. Violet gives a cold, defiant smile, basically saying she's got a promise to keep and she's not about to break it. The Demon King goes quiet, clearly triggered by a dark memory that she'd rather keep buried. Then she snaps back to reality, losing all patience and deciding it's time to end the show for good. Violet's eyes go wide in pure terror, realizing the final blow is coming and there's nowhere left to run. Violet is absolutely losing her mind, screaming for Louis while he stands there looking like a total skeleton mess. Louis is just straight up vibing with his nihilistic energy, telling her he's got nothing left to lose anyway. Then we cut to the Demon King, who's looking totally confused and rubbing her head like she's got a massive migraine. She's activating those Lucifer's eyes, and honestly the way they glow is giving me major Killua vibes. Suddenly, the transformation hits and Louis is back to his handsome self, looking like a total bombshell while asking if she's worried about him. We shift to the Devil Castle, which is literally floating in the sky like some kind of dark, twisted fortress. The demons are having a full-blown meltdown, panicking because their king isn't out there crushing humans like she's supposed to. Then this random demon duck in a suit waddles in, and I'm not even kidding, he's the most suspicious guy in the room. The crew is staring at the orb of vision, trying to figure out why the boss is just chilling instead of starting a war. The duck just sighs, looking like he's tired of everyone's drama, and drops the news that the king's hesitation is the real issue. The demons are absolutely losing their minds, gossiping about how their king has completely fallen for a human. This random demon duck is pointing out the obvious, showing off a wall covered in portraits of our boy Louis. The duck is basically acting like a sassy manager, shutting down any talk about this being some kind of magical spell. He's explaining that the Demon King's weird obsession isn't some dark curse, but something way more pathetic. Turns out the big boss is just a massive otaku fanboy, and he's totally obsessed with Louis. We see a flashback of the Demon King clinging to Louis, looking like a total creep while he's just trying to chill. Back in the present, Violet is looking at the scene with pure confusion, wondering why this monster is acting so weird. Louis is just standing there, looking absolutely traumatized by the whole situation, while Violet is still trying to process the hug. The story takes a serious turn as we look back at the history of the 10 demon kings who have terrorized the world. And then it hits us, the current demon king is officially the strongest one to ever exist, and she's completely fixated on our guy. The black dragon Atrox is looking like a total bombshell, and honestly she's giving off some serious main character energy. The demons are all convinced that as long as this dragon is around, humanity is basically toast, and it's only a matter of time before the world ends. Atrox is getting all emotional, shedding a tear while she tells our boy Louis that she totally gets how rough things have been for him. She's straight up roasting him, calling his current skeletal look totally useless and unimpressive, which is just cold. Louis is just standing there, completely mind-blown and wondering how in the world a dragon like her even exists. She's playing the supportive partner, telling Louis not to stress because she's going to help him track down his original body. Atrox is acting super sweet, promising to stick by his side and help him reclaim his legendary good looks. Violet is absolutely losing her mind, screaming at Louis that he can't trust this chick because she's a literal demon. Louis is just vibing with the idea, telling Violet that he's taking the deal because he's desperate to get his human form back. Atrox stands there looking all ominous, warning Louis that the human world is way more dangerous than he realizes. The Demon King is getting real intense, straight up telling Louis that Violet alone isn't enough to keep him safe in this crazy world. Violet is absolutely shook, her eyes wide as she tries to process the fact that this powerhouse is questioning her ability to protect our boy. She stands her ground, doubling down on her role as the protector of the flower and swearing she'll keep Louis safe no matter what. The Demon King just scoffs at the idea, looking totally unimpressed and throwing some serious shade at the fact that Louis even died in the first place. Violet is left completely speechless, looking like she just got hit with a reality check she wasn't prepared for. Louis is just standing there in his skeletal form, feeling the awkward tension and trying to bridge the gap between these two. The Demon King suddenly shifts gears, getting all flustered and blushing like a total schoolgirl while she looks at Louis. She drops the bombshell offer, asking Louis to enter a contract and make her his servant, which is a wild pivot. Our boy Louis is just standing there with a giant question mark over his head, totally confused by this sudden proposal. Violet is absolutely fuming, her face shadowed with pure rage as she hears the Demon King suggest becoming his master. We start off with a nice, peaceful blue sky, giving us a second to breathe after all that high-stakes drama. Suddenly, we're looking at a cute little bunny munching on a carrot, totally unaware of the chaos about to drop. Out of nowhere, a massive beam of pink energy nukes the area, turning that poor rabbit into a total cartoon silhouette. We get a look at the official Demon's Oath contract, which basically says if these two break their promise, their souls are getting deleted. Louis and his new dragon buddy are standing there in the cherry blossoms, and our boy is already struggling to remember her name. She reminds him it's Atrox, but Louis is just having one of those days where his brain is completely fried. She's looking at him like he's a total weirdo, genuinely confused why he's struggling with such a simple name. Louis decides he's just gonna give her a nickname, thinking it'll be way easier for his skeletal brain to handle. He calls her Xianyang and the dragon looks like she's just been hit by a truck. She is absolutely not vibing with that name. She's shaking with pure disbelief, trying to process the fact that a demon is being called good and saddled with such a goofy title. The Demon King is looking absolutely unhinged, blushing and gushing over how cute our boy Louis is. She's literally jumping for joy, totally obsessed with Louis while Violet just stands there, probably wondering how her life went so wrong. They're trekking across the desert, with Violet trying to keep the pace while Louis is just dragging his bony self along. Louis is feeling the heat, complaining that it's way too hot even for a guy who's already kicked the bucket. Violet checks in on him, asking if he's actually doing okay, but Louis is clearly having a rough time. He clarifies that he's not talking about the weather, but about the creepy demon lady who's been stalking them. The Demon King is just panting and acting like a total weirdo, making the whole situation super uncomfortable. Violet is stressed out, reminding Louis that demons are basically professional human killers and they shouldn't trust this lady for a second. She's genuinely terrified for Louis, trying to get through to him before he makes a massive mistake. Louis just flicks her on the forehead, telling her he doesn't care if it's a human or a demon as long as he gets his body back. Louis is really feeling the weight of his undead existence, straight up saying every day has been a total nightmare since he turned into a skeleton. He tries to play it cool, telling Violet not to stress too much about his safety because he's got a plan. He's basically saying if things go south, he's counting on her to swoop in and save his bony hide. Our boy is looking straight at her, asking if she's got his back while he's rushing to get things done before he literally burns up. Violet is looking at him with this mix of confusion and annoyance, wondering how he can be so shameless while asking for help. But then she has a change of heart, realizing that his constant requests for help actually show how much he trusts her. Louis is back to his usual self, kicking some random monster out of his way like it's nothing. Violet is fully locked in now, making a fist and swearing she's gonna live up to that trust no matter what. We get a quick flashback to the Demon King looking absolutely unhinged, screaming and demanding to know why Louis was allowed to die in the first place. Back in the present, they've finally arrived at the rocky, cavernous location known as Arcanus, and things are about to get real. The Demon King is lurking in the shadows, looking like a total creep while some random old guy is just begging for mercy in the background. Violet is keeping her guard up, eyeing a couple of shady-looking punks who are clearly up to no good in this dark hallway. Our boy Louis is just standing there, looking like a literal Grim Reaper in his cloak, probably wondering how his life turned into this weird fantasy trip. Violet is playing the protective big sister, telling Louis that this place is a death trap and he needs to stick to her like glue. The Demon King pops out of nowhere, acting all unhinged and roasting Violet for actually bringing Louis into such a sketchy spot. Violet is having none of it, snapping back at the demon and telling her to watch her mouth while they're on a mission. Louis is just standing there, completely unfazed by the bickering, while the Demon King continues to act like a total weirdo. Violet is trying to keep the focus on their goal, but the Demon King is still being a massive distraction, acting like a needy fan. Finally, our skeletal boy decides he's had enough of the drama and tells everyone it's time to crash for the night. Louis makes a break for it, leaving a totally stressed out Violet to deal with the Demon King while he heads to his room. The Demon King is looking at our boy Louis with those glowing eyes, basically demanding they shack up together in the same room. Violet is having absolutely none of this, stepping in to call out the demon for being a total creep and making everything super awkward. The demon tries to play the victim, grabbing Violet's hair and claiming she's just trying to avoid being a burden by taking Louis' room. Things get heated fast, with both of them sparking up like they're about to throw hands while Louis just stands there in the middle of the chaos. Our guy Louis is completely over it, shaking his head and letting out a massive sigh because he just wants to get some sleep. They end up sitting in separate corners, glaring at each other like they're in a high-stakes standoff. The demon is clearly frustrated, muttering under her breath and looking like she's ready to snap. Violet keeps her cool, hitting back with a lecture about how cursing is totally uncalled for. The demon just laughs it off, acting like being a villain gives her a free pass to be as rude as she wants. It's a total stalemate, with the demon complaining about the missed opportunity while Violet shuts her down with a cold, final warning. The Demon King is looking absolutely unhinged, basically asking if she can finally go all out now that the coast is clear. Violet is standing her ground with that blade, looking like she's ready to throw down and asking if the demon can actually handle the heat. The action kicks off in a blur of motion, with Violet launching a strike while the demon dodges and counters with pure chaotic energy. They clash in a massive burst of light, and man, the sheer power behind these two is enough to rattle the whole room. Violet is looking a bit worse for wear with a cut on her face, while the demon is just grinning like she's having the time of her life. A sudden, blinding flash of light erupts between them, and it's clear that things are escalating way past a simple training session. The dust settles and the demon is still hovering there, looking like she's ready to keep the party going all night. Violet lets out a scream of pure frustration, clearly reaching her absolute limit with this crazy demon lady. Suddenly, they stumble upon a couple in the middle of a super weird fetish roleplay, and the look on their faces is pure, unadulterated confusion. The demon is just cheering them on like a total weirdo, while Violet is face-bombing, completely done with the absurdity of this entire situation. Violet and the Demon King burst into the room, only to find it completely trashed and empty. They're frantically calling out for Louis, but the only thing answering them is the eerie silence of the wrecked space. The Demon King looks around, totally confused and wondering if our boy just decided to head out for a casual stroll. She quickly realizes that's not the case, and her expression shifts from confusion to genuine concern. Suddenly, her eyes lock onto something on the bed that makes her blood run cold. Violet rushes over and picks up the discarded bone and robe, realizing something is seriously wrong. She knows our boy would never leave his gear behind, and the realization hits her like a freight train. With a look of pure dread, she confirms the worst possible scenario to the Demon King. They both stare at each other in total shock, finally accepting that Louis has been snatched right from under their noses.